All right, welcome back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video. So this is going to start off all of the set 17 archetypes and basically all my lists and my thoughts and things like that, since I really haven't taken the time to do that. Sorry about the lack of content, but I mean, hopefully we can get some stuff that's more creative. And if you are looking forward to a certain leader or deck or idea, please let me know in the comments below, so that way I can prioritize that and have some videos and content for that out as well. Today I want to talk about Gamma 1 and 2, which of course is featuring androids. So obviously I want to start out with that, and then most likely GT, and as well as Piccolo, which are my other two favorites for this set. I think for these two, or at least this leader itself, it is an interesting leader. I think it's one of those ones where if you don't really know how to handle it, you're probably going to be losing to it majority of the time. And there are some kind of bad matchups like Red 7, U7 Goku, but I think that type of deck is kind of a really good all-arounder in this upcoming format. And it's, I mean, hopefully it's not going to be something that people could complain about. Who knows? But I think Gamma 1 and 2 is similar to Red U7 Goku because it is an archetypal, very strong, good finishers, and a lot of support type of deck. And I think it's similar to Android 16, obviously because it's blue and green, and because it has Android 16. I think it's gonna be one of those decks where people are gonna be like, oh, I think it's a pretty good deck, but I don't think it's gonna win anything, and then out of nowhere it might win something. Very similar to 16. By the way, if you do need any of the set 17 product, please use the links below or Mystic TCG, which is our official sponsor, and as well as using the TCG player affiliate link if you want to buy any of the singles. So let's talk about the leader for a little bit. So the front side says with the permanent, you can't use non-red ribbon army cards skills to place cards into your energy. So things like the Android 21, the Android 18, which we do play, ironically, but I'll explain that. Things like that, you can't place things into your energy. Only the ones that are red ribbon army. And it does swing and draw, which is nice because the backside technically doesn't as well. And then Awakening is that if you have 4 or less life or a blue unison card, a specific cost of 2 in play, then you may draw 1 card and you switch up to 1 energy active mode and take up to 6 life, or until you have 6 life. The backside is really nice too because it is basically a Super Saiyan 3 reboot slash the original slash Android deck type of thing going on. And what I mean by that is because the auto says when you play a blue card from your energy, then you get to place the top card in your deck into rest mode. So similar to Android 16, for any of the Android 16 arrivals and things like that, you get to do the same thing. It's just that this says any blue card. So it kind of opens up for future cards and as well as the current sets. Now the Super Saiyan 3 reboot thing is the auto. You add 3 blue androids from your energy to your hand, and then at the end of the turn you draw 1 first. People forget this all the time for some reason, and then you add up to 3 blue android cards from your hand into your energy. Until the end of the opponent's next turn, you can't activate skills or non-android battle cards when energy cost is 7 less in all areas. So there's a lot that goes on here where, again, you have to have at least 3 blue android cards in your energy area. So you can't do this turn 2, which is fine because you're at 6 life, you have a unison, they're going to be focusing on the unison, and you have 1 open energy, which I'll explain what you can do with that later. And the other part of it is that you have to take 3 blue and up to 3 into your energy afterwards. So you can do some little shenanigans of, you know, taking the blue topo now, or whatever it may be, like a rival card, and then just have 1 less energy if you really wanted to, and just have that as your hand size. Or I should say, add that to your hand size. But majority of the time, you're going to be placing the blue cards back into your energy. Some of them are blue-green, where it has like a permanent where you don't have to use the energy exhaust as well. And basically, you untap those 3 energy. Now, the other part is that you can't use non-android cards, battle cards that is, the skills in all areas with 7 or less, which means if you wanted to tech in something, let's say like a combo thing that interacts in the combo step that is a non-android card that's 7 or less, then you wouldn't be able to do that because of this auto. And this is only if you take up to 3. So if you really wanted to be versatile in that, which you don't want to, you really would rather take the 3 energy, and as well as the 3 cards that you're protecting in your energy as well, because you can have like a 17 in your energy, you can have a super combo in your energy if you charged it from the other auto, etc. You can just take that back add it to your hand, and then place things that should be in energy from there. But this also means no Trunks God Sealing, so you can use it on your turn, as in you can have their unison out, have God Sealing. If they respond with something like a Mecha Frieza or like a Kai or something like that, you can God Seal it on your turn, and then on the other turn you just can't do anything on their play, which is kind of whack, but it is a good balancing mechanism. All right, enough about the leader. Let's take a look at a few cards. I mentioned the unison itself. This is one of the strongest unisons I've seen in a long time. And the reason why I say that is because it simply just doesn't die. So it basically gains markers on your turn and as well as their turn by anyone attacking, and as well as protecting itself and as well as others with an extra 5k combo. And you couple that with the 2-drops at 14 and 15, where you pitch to 14 and 15, you look at the top 5, you get the unison, or you get literally anything in your deck, because it only specifies the blue red ribbon army and as well as the unison, and then you just use those things, as in this 0-5 combo from the drop area that you just used, and with this unison, either you attack with it to go into 20k, or they attack into it, it goes into 20k, or they attack your leader and it goes into 20k. So there's a lot of like really dumb things that really interact with this unison, and you're going to be using that -4 pretty much every other turn because of it. Because if they don't get rid of it, then they're looking at a 25k dual attacker, and as well as something that protects pretty much every card on the first attack. So again, I can't stress enough how really good this unison is, not to mention the other 3 cards. So we have a finisher in the cell, basically paying 4, that has double strike and dual attack when it's played. It has deflect, which is just nuts, and the autos that you place everything from their field without barrier at the bottom of the deck. Bottom of the deck is one of the strongest things that blue can do as far as removal, because it doesn't go back to hand, it doesn't go to drop, so you can't recur it or can't do anything like that, and they have to draw into it if they don't shuffle or search for it, which is really, really crazy. Honestly, the card's crazy, and the art is suggestive. But yeah. Anyway, the auto says that if they use a counter attack, they have the bottom deck a card as well, which is just really, really good. Then we also have the limitless energy, which is just dumb that it has deflect, dual attack, and 20k. If it didn't have the other 2 things that makes it busted as well, being a 2-cost card they can play from hand or energy, and as well as removal for something like the cell or something else similar. So like you going against U7 Goku, you going against something else, you just play this for 2, and then you just get rid of their battle cards that are really problematic, and then you're swinging for 25k on the first swing with the unison and 20k on the second swing with dual attack. So I mean, that card itself is really, really good. I like these 2 SRs. Actually all 3 of these SRs. It's been a while since an archetype needed more than 2 SRs, but I think these 3 SRs are going to be pretty expensive if this deck does really well in the format. Anyway, the rare is aandroidd 14 in an inorganic horror, where basically it is a Topo. They just bottom deck instead of dropping 2 cards, which again is really, really strong. And the thing about this is that basically you can charge this guy, you can do all your shenanigans to play things from your energy or from your hand or whatever it may be, and then grab it back into your energy, and then untap 3 for a guarantee, hey, I have 3 energy and as well as a Topo. And this kind of happens over and over in the course of playing against Gamma, where you have to think about the unison, you have to think about the cell, you have to think about this dual attacker that's just going to stay there, and you have to think about the Topo, because now they're swinging so many times, they're finishing with the cell and as well as other things, and they're hiding behind a 2-drop Topo. So I mean, it's really, really dumb when you really think about it. On the bright side is that this guy doesn't have deflect, and you do need a blue red ribbon army and discarding a card. So there's some downsides. Let's talk a little bit about the other cards that you could add. The aandroidd 13 is pretty interesting. I think the Union Absorb effect is pretty nice. It does search at the top 5 for blue red ribbon army. I'm gonna get that wrong every single time, or a unison card. So instead of playing the 18 that I do play that looks at the top 5, you can just play this instead. I just like aandroidd 18. I don't know, that was the explanation for that one. Energy Absorber is a draw 1, and you pay what, 8 there. I don't know why I looked up to do the math there. And then you play any number of blue red ribbon army in your energy area, which is cool. but I highly doubt you'll play this over 17. So we also have our own Android Dark Broly, because you're basically using a rival blue-green. I think Android 16 benefits this more than basically this deck, but it is an Android 13 and not a 16, so if you play from your energy, then it's kind of whack. But it is nice to have a 30k beater, and you're not going to be using that in Activate Battle. The energy absorber is also interesting because it is a gate that you can activate from your energy area, and yeah, there you go. All right, let's talk about my list real quick, and I'll be the first one to say that this isn't the most optimized. I've played every single deck out of set 17, so spending the time for it and between everything else is kind of hard. So but what I have seen is that, you know, playing against the Gavin 1 and 2 and playing as it kind of is pretty much the same deck every single time, especially with the restrictions that it has. It's kind of hard to deviate from some of the really good cards that it actually offers. And this is a 55 card deck. I will say that, yes, you could go down to like 51 or 52. It'd probably be a little bit better as far as consistency goes, especially if you remove some of the stuff like Steadfast Ally and as well as Bad Omen, and as well as the other Android 16 Arrival card, and just kind of pump up some of the other things that could help you as well. But in my opinion, I think this kind of does the duty, I think, because now you have all the cards that I mentioned before. You have the 4-drop Android 18, which is kind of your replacement for Trunks in all intents and purposes, because it covers a lot being 4 or less. It is a blocker 15k, and it is an attacker being a 15k as well. So and you're gonna have that unison out pretty much all the time. I'm gonna talk about the turns, or at least what you need to think about, but I think if you replace the 18s, because all I said was before is that I just like 18, that's all it is. I really haven't had a problem finding my unison, but if you replace the 18 with the 13 that looks the top 5, and as well as get the unison and the other cards, then it's pretty good. I just like the 18 as well, that you get the super combo as well from there. Bad Omen is really good just as a burn, because you're going to be placing things into your energy more often than not, either from the charge or etc. There are other things that ignore energy exhaust, like the Android 17 and 18. So those are the things you're going to be playing more or into your energy more than you would anything else. The Android 16 I didn't really talk about, but it is basically a bean on their turn. You use this, you play this from your energy. As long as it resolves, you get to use the 5k on anything, but especially your leader, basically. And the 17 that has barrier, basically part of all the ones that you play for energy for 1. It is really interesting because it is just a barrier 15k, and believe it or not, barrier 15ks in this format and probably going forward are really annoying to deal with. It's kind of interesting to think about. And then you also have Rebellious Will for the Android 18. She is just the mommy 18 stepping on you, you know, that type of thing, being a 15k critical. I don't think anyone's gonna like go into the no one's gonna realize I said that, right? Like no one goes into this part of this video. Like you haven't watched the whole video to actually hear me say that, right? Like no one's gonna call me out in the comments, right? Anyway, we play Baby Hatch. It's a really good unison, or SCR. There you go. All right, anyway, so we have the other cards that I mentioned before. Android 18 kind of replaces Trunks God Sailing, because you can't really use it on their turn if you use the auto effect. Again, you can play this at 1 or 2 if you really wanted to prevent things. It's probably a sideboard card if you really think about it, because like if you're going against yellow, like I said, or you're going against black for Mecha Frieza or Kai or anything that resolves on play on their turn or on your turn in response to your turn, then this God Sailing is going to be pretty good. But the thing is that Android 18 kind of does that for you just for 1 energy. Results of Research is cool. Looks at the top 5. It's whatever, honestly. And then in the Pay 6 is really a Pay 7, because you have to activate the card, and then you have to activate the Activate main for 6. So, Key Challenger, he's a 14k, which makes really everything kind of weird. It's not a red ribbon, and I don't think the Activate mains are really worth it, but it is something to consider. Some people are playing the Majin Buu Unison to play at turn 4, but I think the play, if you're really intent to use a Majin Buu Unison, which I think again is going to be like a sideboard card, which is kind of weird to say, I think you can play this to minus the 4, go to 1 marker, and then swing with the other unison, and then on turn 4 you can replace this to untap one at the end of their turn, and then get the other 3 energy back into your hand and untap those. And then you have the whole setup, because if you're going against like Red U7 Goku, for instance, then you can just use this to -1 their 8 drop. So this is something to really think about in the sideboard slot. It's really good. I think I don't know if it's worth playing just for the draw 1 over the 17 and 18. If you really are having issues fighting a unison or awakening, then yeah, go ahead and just shove this guy in there at 2 or 3, and then you should be fine. The Android 18, you basically play for 3, you draw 2, and given 1 and 2 don't really draw that many cards. They use their life as a resource, and you hope that they swing at the unison so that way you can get an advantage everywhere else. But basically it's a draw 2 that replaces itself. If you want to play the draw apes, then you should probably play Zeno, but Zeno is unsearchable, and as well as you can get stuck in your energy, that type of thing, unless, yeah, it just gets stuck. So, I mean, I don't really think this is too much of a bad play. Just depends on what you're going against and what kind of counterplays you're looking at. Let's talk about turns for a second. The turn 1 is pretty basic. It's either gonna be Android 18 or 13 to look at the top 5, and then the boys, the 17 and 18, or 14 and 15, needs to be discarded, so that way you look at the top 5 and do the same thing. And then basically you can always protect yourself, so that way you just put this into the drop area, so that way when you do play the unison, you have something guaranteed to have a blonde and blue card with an energy cost of 0.5 or combo cost of 0.5. Then we have turn 2. It really kind of varies. I think most of the time you're just going to be playing these guys as a unison. If you really need to remove something and if you want to be a little aggressive, then 17 or 18 is going to be the play. Which is probably going to be smart if you're going against like going first against Hatch or something like that. 18 is going to be there if you do play the unison, and then you have the open energy to play Android 18, and then Rebellious Will to fix your energy, and as well as to look at the top 5. But you shouldn't really do this from your energy because you can't ramp on the front side. And then we also have all the other things that I was talking about before, basically drawing, using the cell, using another 17 and 18, using the steadfast ally to burn 1, and as well as to have 2 big beaters on the board. And then later in the turns, if it really does get that far, which it can, turning the tide will be kind of the last resort as well. Which is interesting, because if you get to 7 energy, you're turning the tide, you pass turn, and then you get the 3 from your energy, you go to 4 energy, and you have at least those 7 or those like what, 4 or 5 cards depending on what you use. Yeah, turning the tide is kind of funny because when it resolves, everything goes, you swing with critical, you swing with leader if you need to, and then at the end of the turn you draw 1, and then you can just take those 3 cards from your energy area, and then you have 4 cards to their 0. So it's pretty interesting when you really think about it, and it's probably gonna be one of the plays to look out for. Let me know what you think. Like I said, the list can be changed and some edits and things like that. You're probably gonna see many different lists with a number of changes ever so often throughout the format for set 17, but I think it's gonna be a really strong deck going to the new format, and hopefully people can learn about it, which is the whole reason why I made this video in the first place. Hopefully I did a pretty good job explaining the archetype and the things that go with it. My suggestion going against this deck, just swing at the leader, don't worry about everything else. Have an answer for Cell like Mutaito or something like that, and just play good. That's terrible advice. I'm so sorry. Hopefully I can get some gameplay. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.